Okay, so I had this idea. Now, while this idea is not a new one, it is definitely one that I'm determined to see through. Now, this idea that I have, it is inspired by something that I am currently enjoying and that I have been sticking with for the majority of this year. Actually, I would say for all of 2025. And this idea has stemmed from my love for the Hobonichi planner, specifically the Hobonichi Weeks. This here has been my mini planner for 2025, and it's by the brand Hobonichi. It is their Weeks edition, so it's in this slim format. Now, a lot of my subscribers, you guys are always curious to see how I use these and I will show you how I plan in it, but also how it's kind of morphed into what I call like a micro journal. Now, this inspiration behind today's video and my upcoming journal project is stemming from this Hobonichi Weeks because I really enjoy the format. And by the way, I get a lot of questions about this cover, and it is by the Hobonichi brand, this plastic cover, but the Velcro dots I actually just put on here, and it's a little closure hack that you can do as well. You just put it on this end right here, which is kind of like it comes on the cover. I think it's like a page placeholder, and then I just put the fuzzy side here and then the toothy side on the back, and then it works as a closure. It's also nice to secure your pen, whatever pen that you choose to have in here. Usually I have my Pilot capless or like my Jinhao fountain pens, but that is not the point of this video. So let me show you why this has worked for me all these months. Okay, so first I have my dashboard, and right here is where all of my little post-it notes are, and this is where I would jot down any little reminders or grocery items or kind of notes to self that don't necessarily need to be archived in this journal, but that I do want to remember. So I kind of DIY'd this and recycled, upcycled envelope here. And then right here, this is like a little clear pocket that I can put in other ephemera. But going back to the spread, this is what it looks like. And I'm showing you a clear, unwritten and decorated spread, so that way you could just see how it really looks. I love this monthly overview. I use this to, track appointments, personal health things, I would say as well, along with like mini like highlights of the day. My intentions of using this started off as kind of like a health tracker. I was going to track, my fitness journey, miles that I've walked or ran, my workouts, my macros, and use this monthly spread to get a general overview of, how many days of the week did I do cardio or like weightlifting, how many calories did I intake, and so forth. But then it just kind of turned into like light memory keeping, well, more like heavy memory keeping throughout the months. And then the weekly spread, this is what the week at a glance looks like. You have your days here on the left, and then on the right, it has this grid format where you can write down additional notes. And then on the back of this planner, it has extra pages that you can use to create trackers, to journal, to write memories, whatever you'd like. But this part right here is what I've really been enjoying, documenting not only my daily to-dos and my tasks and tracking appointments, but also just little snippets of the day. And just to warn you, okay, I don't have the pretty aesthetic handwriting, and a lot of you subscribers want to see how my Hobonichi Weeks is used. So I warned you, okay? Nothing aesthetic about this. Ta-da! This is my Hobonichi Weeks in my chicken scratch handwriting, okay? And yes, it's very sloppy. It's not, Instagram or TikTok worthy. And yeah, that's why I really don't show these, because, I'm not here to kind of show off my planner. It's really just for my tasks and for my needs. And I can decipher my sloppy handwriting, and I color code a lot of the things that are going on, so that way it's just easy for like my ADHD mind to kind of detect certain things and to kind of keep me focused on certain things. Like this highlight right here, this yellow is indicating birthdays for this week. A lot of August birthdays. I have a lot of August and September birthdays that I need to keep up on, sending out cards and text messages and gifts. And then the pink is something that I definitely want to prioritize, the pink highlighter here. And then the red, I use like this red little gel pen kind of thing, a felt pen, there we go, a felt pen to document, you know, very, very important things that do not roll over. It needs to be done, or it's, you know, it's pretty much finalized for that day. So that usually involves appointments and certain errands. And yeah, here, right, this red, sometimes I'll also use the red if it's something that I definitely want to remember, or it's like a very important memory that if I need to refer back to, it's easy to spot. So right here, I'm just having some soreness, and I have tracked, I'm gonna push this up here. So I've kind of logged this right here where it's circled pretty much this whole week. I've been going through this soreness, but luckily I had my doctor's appointment and I was, you know, given something for that. And yeah, that's pretty much how I use this. On the right side, it has all of the notes that are just kind of side quests, really. These can roll over because, again, anything that's important will primarily be on the left side. And if it does need to roll over, then usually I'll have like my pencil board or like a sticky note, and then I can just carry it over onto the other side. So as you can see, this is, you guys, this is real and raw, my planning here. You know, I have a grocery list, but again, this is where the dashboard comes in handy. And yes, I'm still one of those that likes to write down the grocery list on, you know, a piece of paper. I'm a pen and paper type of gal. And I find that connection with actually, you know, writing down the items, I still remember them, or at least remember the stores that I need to, you know, stop by, versus if I do it on the app, I forget like 90% of the time. And I really am trying to pull away from using my phone a lot. I don't even really like to go on social media much other than YouTube. So using an app really doesn't do anything for me. Plus, with a sticky note, I can have this in my hand or just tape it on the cart without having to click, you know, my screensaver and look and see, you know, what the list says. I would always have to have my phone on or in my hand, and sometimes I just want to be hands-free. So having this on a post-it note, I can just put it on the shopping cart, or just, you know, have it on my scratch pad, and there it is. So again, the right side, it just has little, little notes here. See, like I need to order some matcha, just ideas that I have, maybe Montreal trip, never been, looking to do that. And then, yeah, some things with the garden. Oh, sometimes I'll hear like a quote, or sometimes I'll hear, or I'll come across like a phrase, or a thought will pop in my head. And this is something that I did not want to forget. So that's why I put it on my post-it note. So that way I could transfer it into my Moleskine journal, which I use here. And then I can expand on this thought, or I can do an art spread that I'm inspired by. And that's what I use these for. So this is something I definitely want to transfer back into my Moleskine, but I just have it here. On Sundays, typically in the evening, Sundays are kind of like my rest day. I try not to do anything heavy on Sundays. I want a day dedicated to myself, to just kind of unwind, to catch up on good books or shows. And oh, speaking of shows, that's one thing I noticed about the Hobonichi Weeks, like on the top, I will put a little highlight of what type of entertainment I've been enjoying during the week. So as you can see right here, I have Downton Abbey. Can you guys believe I'm late to the game? Like, I had a friend of mine, she tried to get me into that show like over 5 years ago, and I just could not get past like episode 2 or 3. I wanted like more action, like more drama, and I was really too busy with work to be consumed by like a series at the time. I think I was into like K-drama too, more K-drama. But now I'm into that, and yeah, I'm still on season 2 midway through, and I am just really enjoying Downton Abbey. It's kind of like my cozy comfort at the end of the evening, or truth be told, when I'm actually junk journaling, I will put this on and watch that. So that's one thing I noticed. It wasn't planned, but in blue with my multi-barrel, I will highlight like what book am I enjoying for this week, or what show, has captured my attention usually for that week. But some other spreads that you may be interested to see. Not all weeks are going to look busy. Some weeks there isn't much going on, and I could tell by how they look. So right here in the beginning of June, I can tell I was kind of like in a slump in the beginning. I think for the majority of June, to be honest. Yeah, I was in a slump, and I just didn't document much of the day. And yeah, I can tell. It's interesting how much information is provided by little details with me, if that's making any sense. I can tell usually by my handwriting, by certain quotes, certain things that I track or log. I can just tell what I'm going through at the time, and I remember that distinctively. But here's another spread of, another non-aesthetic layout. Right here you could see I highlighted, I was actually reading more than watching shows, and I was reading How Does It Feel and Steel and Blade. Okay, yep. And then as you can see with the red, I have my appointments, and just, the red are the important tasks I need to do, little quote, testing out fountain pens. And then this is, see another example of the Post-it note. I meant to take this out, rewrite this, because my handwriting is very, very sloppy. But this Alfredo recipe I made this year for the first time from scratch. I usually go to like an Italian restaurant to have it, but it's so easy, and it's one of my favorites. And yeah, this is a recipe that it worked for me. The 1 cup fresh Parmesan, grated Parmesan, 1/2 cup butter. I use the Kerrygold salted butter, and then 1 cup heavy whipping cream, 3 garlic cloves, and then just like a sprinkle of pepper, and mix that and put that over some grilled chicken breast, and it's delicious. I also put a little bit of crushed red peppers, but yeah, I know it's easy, but for me, it was kind of like the thing that I did for the first time in my life this year. And this is just a nice memory to see. Oh, in March, I actually, started eating more at home and enjoying recipes that I cook versus always going out to eat. Here's another page that doesn't look all that exciting. The Super Bowl, I documented that, picked up a book. See, just little things. I could tell because there aren't a lot of highlights that there wasn't really too much going on, but I still documented like little things here and there, but nothing important that needs immediate attention. Right here though, you could tell that this paper, I was having trouble with it because I was testing. If you've been following my channel, I fell into the rabbit hole, even deeper down the rabbit hole, and trying out my Jinhao 10 fountain pens and inks. And I was so excited to use the Hobonichi Weeks because it's usually really good with fountain pen inks. But as you could see, I was excited to use my Pilot Kakunos and my Jinhaos, but there is a lot of bleed through, and I could barely read even what I wrote on top of that. And that's when I realized, okay, this may not work well with my fountain pens, but I can still continue to use gel pens. I think that's another thing too. Oh, and here's a little bit of light watercoloring that I did here, like on these pages. But I think that's another thing that's so interesting. When something doesn't feel as precious anymore, I tend to use it more. Like I don't baby it, and I am not careful with how my handwriting looks, or I just kind of like have fun with it. Like I just pour everything into it because it doesn't feel so precious, if that makes sense. And that's kind of what happened subconsciously. That's what happened here. I was just like, okay, it's not precious anymore. And yeah, just been enjoying that. Okay, but here's the thing. This is what I am starting to realize. My schedule is kind of ramping up now with August and September, like work is getting busy and just like personal obligations. I need more space. And I realized that this past week I had a to-do list, and that to-do list, it was for right here. Yeah, I think it was for Monday or Sunday of this week. And I had to write on a separate piece of paper the actual to-do list. This is not for 1 week, like how this week's is. This is for 1 day. This is for 1 day. So I had to go off the page, and obviously it's bigger than a Post-it note. I had to write everything down on this memo pad. So here, I kind of like how I have this sectioned off, and this is actually supposed to be a weekly, but the way that this looks, my brain actually enjoyed how it was kind of compartmentalized, and it really made doing these tasks less daunting, and it didn't feel like it was such a long list. And that is because it is broken down by, let me move this. It is broken down by sections of the tasks. So this top part, I actually highlighted it because this was the priority. This is something that had to be done that day. I had to go to the post office to drop off some packages and envelopes. Yes, I do try to make my walk a priority, especially I walk the dog, and then I definitely needed to trim my hair. Yeah, I need to do that. But then the second box was used for Patreon. And for my Patreon journal club, I needed to finish like making the envelopes and sealing them up, and then announcing the giveaway winners, and then posting a video. And then YouTube, I wanted to post my latest junk journal with me video, and then new planner video clip. Okay, and then record myself actually adding in a little bit of the ephemera to capture that moment with you guys. And then this fourth section was actually like a journal section, a to-do, and that was to add in a monthly spread. Oh, which I guess I could just show you right now, a surprise, in my upcoming journal with me. You'll see this, but in my junk journal, the series that I've been showing, I added this monthly spread here. And this monthly spread was basically, it's from that Dollar Tree calendar that I showed in last video. So you could see right here. But yeah, that was something that I definitely wanted to remember and document for those that are following along the junk journal series. And then home tasks. So this was broken down by what did I need to do around the home. And that was order dog food and then bird food, because I'm in this phase where I love bird watching now. I have these pigeons and these birds that come by, and yeah, it's just, and some squirrels. It's just a joy. It's just a joy seeing, you know, like wildlife in your backyard, any life in the morning. And I really look forward to that in my morning routine. It's part of, I guess, my morning gratitude, just, you know, being surrounded by nature and life. I needed to clear the guest bedroom and sheets, and then wash the towels. Oh, and then right here you'll see this is a reminder, like, okay, I need some butter lettuce, and that reminder was so that way I could transfer that onto that sticky note here. And I think I added it, yeah, right here, the butter lettuce. So that way when I go to the store, it's all compiled on here. So this is actually everything I was able to do in a day, but again, it didn't feel overwhelming because it was all compartmentalized and broken down. And if I couldn't get to these like last 3, it wasn't as important as the first 2 boxes. But this inspired my new setup that I'm considering. But as you see, you know, this to-do list is way too big to try to cram into that weekly spread. And the thing is, in this Hobonichi Weeks, I'm running out of pages in the back, and it's definitely not going to last me until December. I only have like 10 sheets left in the back, and I don't want to waste them on like a little, you know, scrappy to-do list that doesn't necessarily need to be archived. But that is where this idea comes in. So the Hobonichi Weeks is working for me. I really, really like it. But now the thing is, where my idea is inspired by is, how can I make these other tasks work? Because I kind of want to stay in a book, a notebook, a journal that kind of has it all. As you saw, my Hobonichi Weeks had a little bit of, you know, it had planning in there. It also had a little bit of micro journaling in there, but I would even say kind of like light memory keeping, certain pages that, you know, I didn't flip through. But I want something where I can do both, or I should say all, but with more space. Again, I know my handwriting is not the best, but I can read it. So because I want this, my space is limited. Okay, that's kind of the problem. Limited space. Especially in the weeks I'm running out of pages. So that is the problem. The limited space. But this idea is staring at me right in the face. My moleskin expanded. What would happen if I combined my Hobonichi Weeks and I would, I wouldn't use the same notebook because this is almost done as well, but merged it with, oh yeah, it's actually a moleskin. I was going to say a planner or a journal. Moleskin expanded. So that would be my planner and my journal. This is, okay, I know I said this is like a micro journal, my Hobonichi Weeks, but my moleskin expanded, for those that don't know, this is like my commonplace. Like this is the journal that I would write long form. And I'm kind of wanting to experiment putting these together and creating kind of like the ultimate journal setup. Yeah, so these are just things that I would like journal and think about myself and look at, like, how did I get here? How did I brainstorm this? So I'd obviously want to start a new journal because this already is, again, it's almost done. And I want to start fresh. I want to start new. And I could technically, knowing myself and how much I write, I know we're in the month of what, August, September, October, November, and then December, 5 months. Yeah, I can get through a moleskin expanded in 5 months. Now I have to preface the expanded portion of the moleskin notebook because the Moleskine brand, they make their standard notebooks in their large size that has 192 pages. And yeah, while that could work, I know myself and I just like a thick notebook. I'm sure a lot of my subscribers, you guys are not, surprised by that. If I really am intentional with sticking in a particular notebook or a journal, in one place, it can work. Like they fill up rather quickly. And I need the expanded version, which means it is double the size of the standard moleskin. The standard, again, has 192 pages, where the expanded version has 400 pages. So you could see there's quite a difference here. So let's go ahead and get this baby all set up. By the way, if you are a moleskin lover, or maybe you loved the Moleskine brand in the past, but you also enjoy using, like fountain pens, and you realize that the paper quality is not the best with fountain pens, I always stress this to people that message me. I get specifically the blank version, the blank pages, the expanded, and while I don't have any local stationery stores that sell the blank expanded version, unfortunately, I just have, I guess, the luck of the draw through Amazon, and the ones that work well with dark gel inks and fountain pen inks and markers have been, in my experience, the ones that are made in Vietnam and China. The ones that I realize do not work well with your markers and dark gel pens and fountain pen inks are the ones that say made in Ecuador or made in Turkey. That's just my personal experience. And then I always look for these key indicators if it has the 8 or the 9 little squares, and then if it says forestry on here. Handy dandy scissors here to cut this open. and I'm going to show you how I plan on setting this up here as my everyday, like, ultimate planner journal. It's kind of like my everything catch-all commonplace thing. And I have my fountain pens right here, so we are going to test my theory. It's not always 100% because I know some of you have received certain Moleskine notebooks that had these indicators, but they were lined or dot or grid. So again, I can only speak on the blank version. Another reason why I like using this particular journal is because, or notebook that just becomes my journal, are these reasons. I love, first of all, the soft cover because it makes it just easy and pliable and moldable. And then as it, you know, chunks up, it can actually hold all of the ephemera that I have in there. Hardcover, it's kind of hard and stiff and it's just not my preference. And then I love the rounded edges right here. If it's pointy, I don't know, it kind of just like jabs you, and I just don't like it. I'm a very tactile person, so all of the notebooks I realize in time that I gravitate towards are the ones with the rounded corners. And then the elastic band is definitely a perk, but I also appreciate how the Moleskine journal and their notebooks have the cream, well, even their planners have this too, the cream pages versus that stark, let me show you, let me get a piece of paper. Okay, here's like regular white printer paper. And I just find the cream to be very soothing, very comforting, just very cozy, again, for my preference. So touching this paper, because, you know, I'm not a professional Moleskine tester, but in my experience, according to my calculations, look, I can tell just by like my finger, I don't know if you guys can see the lighting, you really can't, but I could just tell by the way that my hand is not as see-through that this paper will probably hold up well with my fountain pens. I can just tell. It doesn't feel too toothy. It doesn't feel like recycled paper like the ones I've used in the past. But let's see this sticker. I think I'm starting to realize that this quality sticker control, I really do think it is an indicator of where the manufacturer is, because I noticed the ones made in Vietnam, the yellow is dark. The ones in China, it's light yellow. And then, yeah, Vietnam's dark yellow, Ecuador is green, Turkey is orange. So I don't really think it's an indicator of the good quality, bad quality, with the exception of blue. I have come across the blue sticker, and I think the only time I came across the blue was when it was made in Vietnam, but that could have been because it was the lined daily agenda, and blue to me indicates it's going to be mid. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. It's going to be, you know, mid, in the middle. Like it'll do well with most of your gel inks, but definitely not with the majority of your fountain pen inks. Okay, so I just kind of put this here just as an indicator, and then I keep all these extra like ephemera bits. I can probably put this in my junk journal, which again, if you haven't been following along, I have this composition notebook where I put all of my scrappy ephemera and junk. So I will most likely cut this and snip it somewhere in the junk journal, but check out my previous videos if you're interested. So let's go ahead and do the pen test before we set this up here. And I usually do the first page because I like to break the ice, but because this is going to be, you know, my planner and journal, I think I'm going to reserve the first page for something else. So let's skip to the very back. Let's do maybe like the second to the back, and I'm going to use my TWSBI. This is a TWSBI, the Rose Diamond. This is the one that got me down the rabbit hole, the one that made me understand the hype, why people still use fountain pens. It's very lovely, and yeah, I definitely recommend it if it is in the budget. If not, the Eco, those are really good fountain pens as well, the Eco version. So this is, I always do this little swipey swipe, and if I remember, this is the Bungu box. I can tell there's a little bit of violet in here. So this is TWSBI. I always write down the pen. The nib size is fine, and I would normally put like 580 or Eco, but I know myself very well, and anytime that it looks black, I know it's probably in this TWSBI. I only really ink this up with black ink or black purple ink, and this is the Ink of Witch. I can already tell, you guys. I have been using Moleskine for so long, I don't even have to flip it. I can already tell that it's not going to bleed through because there is no feathering and the paper is not drinking up the ink. I'll show you. Yep, I knew it. There's no bleed through. Hardly any ghosting. Ghosting doesn't bother me, but the bleed through, you guys. If you don't know, Bungu Box ink is pretty wet, pretty dark. This is, what do I have this inked with? Oh yeah, okay. This is the Pilot Prera in the ivory color. I think they stopped making this, so I'm glad I held on to it. Pilot Prera. It's a nice little pocket pen. This is in fine, and I have this in Diamine. The brand is Diamine, and it is, I think it's just gray. I'm trying to think. I think it's charcoal. No, I think it's charcoal. Yeah, charcoal, or is it gray? It's one of those. I think I mixed it in the end. But Diamine typically does well with my Moleskine paper anyway. The big boss, okay, the key indicator is how well is it going to do with my Noodler's ink. And thanks to the helpful pen friends on Instagram that got me into the rabbit hole over 5 years ago, this was like my first set. It was the, well, okay, no, it wasn't my first. Actually, I remember it was the Pilot Metropolitan and the Lamy Safari, but those have been sold off. But these are the ones that, again, kept me in the game. The 580 TWSBI, and this was my very, very first, besides the ink cartridge, this was my very first ink bottle. I asked the community, I want like a nice, rich, dark black, and everyone, and budget friendly, because again, I didn't know if I wanted to invest, heavily into the fountain pen passion, hobby. It's not really even a hobby. I think it's a lifestyle, right? And everyone at the time recommended the brand Noodler's ink and the Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness is actually, is it waterproof? I'd say it's really good. Like, it's water resistant as well. So I know you can't tell, but you guys, this ink is, I barely made a dent. I have this whole bottle. It's going to last me a lifetime, and I have to like use it up one of these days. But I'm enjoying the Bungu Box Ink of Witch at the moment. And then I liked this so much that I wanted a classic gray. So here's Lexington gray. And when I don't feel like, using my glass nib or inking up a pen, I'll just use this little makeup applicator and swatch the fountain pen inks. So I probably don't even need this swatcher because this has the little dropper. Okay. And again, this is the key indicator. I mean, not that I use this Heart of Darkness, but this is how I realized I had like unicorn paper. Because Noodler's is known to bleed through pretty much almost everything and anything. And when it did not bleed through my Moleskine, I knew I had something special on my hands last year. If you guys were here for the lore. Okay, I'm going to use the other side to do the Lexington gray. And yeah, I can already tell there's no bleed through. I just know. I know my Moleskine paper now. I'm its mother. I can tell. And the way that it's not porous and it's not coming through. Actually, now that I said that, the Lexington actually looks a little porous, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's go ahead and flip through and see if there's bleed through. Oh, nope. There is no bleed through. It's still kind of wet, but if I zoom you in, can you guys see? Okay, there's like a little bit of a speckle, but for the most part, that is really, really good. And most importantly, I look forward to using like highlighters. When I use my highlighters, these are Muji, by the way. These are going to you know, perform well. Or even like Tombow pens. I think I have some Tombow pens that I can show, because some batches that I had in the past, you know, my moleskin, it just would be like porous. You could see it coming through. Oh, this is drying up. Oopsie, I've had this for so long. Okay. But as you can see, ta-da, looks good. So I'm excited that I have a win moleskin. I hope that little key helps if you want to follow along as well, if you're looking for a chunky journal. Now another journal, maybe you like despise moleskin, and I totally understand where you're coming from. I totally get it. Then this is the journal that I would recommend. If you like a thick, chunky notebook with good paper quality, get the Midori. I mean, the Midori brand, they also make the 172 or is it 92 page as well. But if you want a thicker notebook, the Midori, this is really good. I just cut it down so that way it's A5 slim, and I just round the edges myself with a corner punch. But it does have like this nice cream color. It's slightly, like ever so slightly thicker than the moleskin, but yeah, this is, to me, this just feels kind of precious. I don't know why. I just feel like, ooh, this is a precious Japanese like journal. I can't, you know, use it for just anything like random scribbles. But with my moleskin, I am not, you know, too careful using these. So I'll see you guys in part 2, because this is already long and I'm going to work on my setup, and I'll see you tomorrow.